On this week's FAS TV, we're in Perth at the 2025 Farm Advisory Service Conference, Farming for the Future. This event saw farmers, crofters and stakeholders coming together to explore two big topics in agriculture: future-proofing your land and future-proofing your people.
So today we're at Perth Racecourse for the Farm Advisory Service Conference. Our theme today is Farming for the Future, and within this Farming for the Future we're looking at our two big assets in land and people. The key themes I would say that have come out today is using data and getting data, really driving decisions for management through data. There's also the kind of role of livestock and how important grass is to the climate challenges as well. We've also got new tech and looking at new technologies to how that can help enhance biodiversity, how you can graze lands that might not have been grazed in the past, and then the benefits of helping towards bracken control or towards planting trees and trying to protect those areas away from livestock. This afternoon we're looking at people as an asset. We're going to have a good couple of speakers, and really what we're trying to get out of here is how we attract people to the industry, how we get the next generation of farmers, industry professionals, future CEOs, how we attract the next lot of next blood to this industry.
In terms of the conference here today, it's a number of people that are here. It's hugely well attended, and that shows not only is the Farm Advisory Service working, all the other guys that are in the room, ourselves and all the other exhibitors you've got, but the farmers and the crofters that are here as well clearly value it, and I think that's really important, and it's something that FAS can take away and all the rest of us can take away as well. So in terms of the Farm Advisory Service, we've got fantastic links. The primary one we do is we do workshops with FAS across the country, across the crofting counties on common grazings. They're hugely well enjoyed by people, they really are. I was at one only last week in Helmsdale. The room was full and the thing overran by an hour because people had so many questions, not just for us but for farm advisory guys as well. You do a really good job actually, because everything that you talk about has got farmers and crofters. Many of the other support organisations just talk about farming. So I'm really pleased that working with FAS, you recognise crofting for what it is. Obviously, I would like more for crofters, and I think that most crofts are quite small compared to farms, and I think probably more of an emphasis on what guys with really small agricultural holdings can do and how they can make the most of them. That would really work for our crofters.
Today I think it's about seeing people connect, and that's one of our 5 ways to wellbeing with Farmstrong. So seeing the socialisation going on, the learning going on from the speakers, but also from the questions and the chat and the networking. Some key takeaways for today are the passion that's within the industry. There was a lot of talk about negativity, but there was a lot more talk about the positivity that's within the industry. So whether that's what's happening now, the opportunities to come, and the wellbeing that showcases when people are talking about this because they enjoy what they do.
My name is Poppy Freighter. I am a sheep and grassland specialist with SAC Consulting. So I was talking about the ruminant sector in Scotland and how we can do more in the combating climate change, what we're already doing, and different practices that have promised to go further again. Firstly, I think although we acknowledge that methane is biogenic, it's a natural cycle, there's still a huge potential for us to make a difference in the short term by looking at ways to reduce methane emissions per kilo of output. Secondly, I would like to acknowledge that farms based on grassland are really important to protect a vital store of soil carbon. 60% of the UK's soil carbon is stored in grasslands, and it can take, after cultivation, it can take up to 100 years to get back to that level. So businesses around grass are important. Thirdly, I think we can consider ways to go further by integrating herbal lays, by considering grazing practices, and also considering, where practical, means to integrate trees onto the farm.
My name is Anne Eleanor and I am Head of Farmer Success at Monol, and we are a virtual fencing company. So today we focused on the benefits of virtual fencing using examples from UK farmers. So we had Rob Wainwright, the previous rugby player, telling us all about how he's been using the product to graze a really rough hill, and been using it to get a lot more out of the resources in his grazing fields. I want farmers to explore all of the opportunities that lies in new technology and to see how it could benefit their farm and their operations.
My name's Matthew Anderson and I farm in the Scottish Borders on an organic hill farm. I'm a third generation farmer and I farm with my brother and also with my dad. So far I think I've enjoyed most about hearing about some of the new technology which some farmers are using, which one of these technologies is no fence collars, which mean you can move your cattle around a hill or a field without having to go and put up an actual physical fence, and the collar will tell them when you're going near the boundary of the virtual fence. And then I'm interested in using that to be able to manage my grazing better and just have the cows work their way through a pasture at a different speed instead of giving them a whole big pasture just to go at one time. One thing I'm hoping to take away from today is to learn a bit more about the future of agriculture in terms of people, and this afternoon we're going to be talking about how to attract new people into the industry. And I myself, I'm not new in the industry because I was born into the industry, but I feel like there's lots of people who could come into the industry with lots of skills from other places, and embracing new technology and embracing like a real profit-driven way of farming instead of sometimes the older ways of farming where it's kind of I-bean. But I think there's new ways that people can get into farming, and that we need that new energy and new blood into farming to keep farming going strongly.
Okay, well, my name is Aidan Murray and I've been working for Teagasc for 30 years. Well, the main themes of the talk this morning was really, I was asked to speak about what we're doing on the Irish system relative to maybe what's happening in Scotland. And I would have had contact with a number of people in Scotland over the years. I know a number of farmers here, and I was trying to show one of the things in the Irish context is we have an overall food vision document 2030, and within that there's overall 4 main missions, but then there's a number of goals within each of the missions, but ultimately we want to become a sustainable sort of food producer and be recognised globally for that. So the primary producer is obviously involved in that. Putting that document together involved a number of organisations in Ireland. So really we have a lot of collaboration, and we're trying to work together, targeting the primary producer to sort of make things happen and bring about change at farm level, that, you know, whether it's an environmental or whether it's technical efficiency, we're trying to sort of specifically target that. And one of the main emphasis, I suppose, is that I was trying to put across, and I give a few examples of how we're able to capture data and use databases from different organisations to benefit the client and benefit what we're trying to actually achieve at farm level. So that's, to me, is, you know, the amount of baseline information that an advisor has before they set foot on the farm seems to be, we seem to be in a lot better place than maybe what would be available to advisors here. And that we might not always use it to the best effect, but it's there. And we can access it, which is, you know, a huge benefit for us as advisors or as an advisory service. Well, I suppose number one, know what you're trying to target. If you can work collaboratively with different organisations, you have a greater chance of making things happen. And that I think is a big plus as far as we're concerned. And we do, in fairness, have a very receptive Department of Agriculture. They're willing to listen to what we think the issues are and how we can best develop it. And I give an example of how we've sort of bringing the dairy calf to beef. It's not just an issue for the person rearing the calf. We have to go right back to the dairy farmer. So co-ops were involved, department provided funding, the meat factories are involved, ICBF are involved, and we're developing an index to make people say, yes, there is a viable, and that's all backed up with a monitor farm program behind all of that. So it's collaboration, planning, and I think the collection and use of data I think is hugely important.
So I'm Susanna Pate and I work in agricultural communications, and we also have a family farm at home where we have arable and we have turkeys and deer as well. We had a really good panel session on marketing the industry to the next generation, and so we discussed a huge amount about how to attract the next generation in and make it appealing for them. I think what really is important for us to showcase as an industry is the diversity of what's on offer. So it's not just all about farming, but there's so many associated trades that go with that, whether it's in communications or as an agronomist, livestock management, engineer. There's so much there, and I think we probably don't talk about it enough. So we've got a real opportunity as an industry to be showcasing in depth and engaging people both within the industry and outside the industry. So I've spoken to a few young people who are very keen to get into the industry but don't come from farming or don't have a family farm to return to, and I think they sometimes struggle with knowing where to start and what to do, and there can be a difficulty in schools if there's not enough information available what routes there are into the industry. So what I would be saying is ask around if you've got any connections to go and work on a farm, do work experience. That's where a lot of people get into the industry. You may have to work for free for a little bit, but it gives you a taster for it. People who have come into the industry, particularly from outside farming, say what they really enjoy is the flexibility of the job, that it's very different every week. They don't know what's coming next, that one minute they might be on a tractor, the other side they're indoors doing a different job, but actually that keeps them really interested, and they have a very fulfilling, sort of wholesome day because everything's so different and they're moving all the time. I think there's no doubt that you learn through experience, and what it would be great to see is more apprenticeships available within the farming industry. And it's really difficult, I understand, for small farming businesses to take on apprentices, both the cost and the mentoring element of it, and you have to put an awful lot into it. But that time putting into it at the beginning will undoubtedly help in the future, because then you have people helping on the farm that can do the job. And so I think it's a real investment of time and energy probably, but it is good. And if we could see just a little bit more of that, and farmers thinking about how they can help get the next get the next generation in and interested. It's really important to communicate with the next generation and to share and market what we're doing in the industry. And what is very different to 20 years ago is that information is coming from all sorts of different directions. It's coming through social media, it's coming through online, it's on podcasts. Information is coming very thick and fast. And the generation that are coming into the workforce, that's how they digest it, and it is different to the older generations who might have read an article in the press or that kind of thing. But actually, you need all of it to work together. You need the press articles because they tell the long form story. You need the podcast because you get two sides of the interview. You need the social media because it makes it feel cool and accessible and interesting. So actually all this media needs to work together to showcase all the stories, and what's really important is to be showcasing the diversity and the interesting and exciting opportunities that there are across farming and agriculture.
So I'm Kay Adam. I farm in partnership with my husband and two boys at New House of Glams, just outside Forfar. We're a mixed farm, pedigree cattle, sheep, arable, and our latest enterprise, which I have taken kind of control of, is our 32,000 free range egg producing unit. So we were talking about the next generation and how we get the next generation into agriculture today. So I feel very passionate about youth development within the livestock industry. I was an active young farmer when I grew up. I got so much rewards from being that. I think it's time to give back. So our discussions today were how could we get people into the industry, what could we do better, how could we be better mentors. So it was an interesting day. Lots of things came up. RET, Royal Highland Education Trust, I'm a volunteer. A lot of discussion around that. My advice was, for the next generation, if you want to do it, find a way into the industry. And I would like to say that as a farmer, we are here to help you, to mentor you, to give you that step, that foot on the ladder to get into our industry. But it's not the easiest thing to do. So we talked about apprenticeships and more mentoring through RET with the young people in schools and such like, education. So RET, Royal Highland Education Trust, there's one in most areas, and it's a charity, and we're there to bring food and farming into the classroom basically. So I myself have been a classroom speaker, going in to speak to the young kids and tell them about my farm, have them visit my farm. It's just a joy to see the I had them out at lambing time when they see a newborn lamb getting born. It's just a memory that they have, but I enjoy the look on their faces as well. All about educating that generation to where their food actually comes from. I think one piece to take away, if you have the time and the skills and wish to be a volunteer, whether it be rep, whether you mentor an apprenticeship, don't hang back, just go on and do it, and we can hopefully get somebody new into our industry.
I suppose the main topic was the future of farming, really. That's what it boiled down to, and that's what we kind of got into. And it was a lot of good, interesting points put across. Yeah, the advice I would give to people that perhaps aren't from farming, want to get into it, you're gonna probably have to start at the bottom and work your way up, which is fine. But you know, it's more or less what I've done. Find yourself a job. Dairy farms are usually the easiest. They're always looking for staff. Start feeding calves, scraping out, move up to milking cows, get a bit of tractor work, see where that takes you, travel the world. The opportunities are there, but you're gonna have to dig in and graft for them. In fact, I would go as far as to say it's the first thing most people measure you on in farming, is how hard a worker you are. So if you do get a job in the industry, you get your head down, you push on, it will get noticed. An apprenticeship would be a great option, I think, for a lot of farms, just because of the wage structure at the moment. In my opinion, it's far too expensive to employ a young person. It really is. But I know that through apprenticeship schemes, you can bring a young person in on a lower rate. It's still quite expensive, but you can everything's expensive these days, but you can save significantly bringing them in. You have, you're more invested in it then, I suppose. There's maybe more behind you to really push on and make it succeed, which will then make them a better person within the industry. Reflecting the last 5-10 years, I mean, start a YouTube channel is the obvious answer. That's the obvious bit of advice I would give, but I think the beautiful thing about farming is it all comes back to hard work. Like, if you graft, if you work every day and push on, there's things you can do. Like, and not just in farming sense, in business sense, like one of my big things has always been low cost, low debts, like live cheap. Like, you don't spend that much money if you're working every day. But if you work 5 days a week, you're always looking for something to do at the weekends and blow a lot of money. But if you work those 2 days, it's the reverse, you're bringing more money in. So I'm old fashioned, just keep grafting, keep pushing forward, and there is opportunities there. I love coming to events like this, and I'm a big fan of the Farm Advisory Service podcast. I will give that an absolute shout out. I listen to it all the time, I really do, especially all the livestock pods, brilliant. Even the rural roundups, incredible, the information that's in them, and global issues with grain prices and stuff, lots of great, fantastic information in there, so I will say that. But events like this, I mean, the best one for farmers, it's free, there's a lunch on. There's coffee and cake waiting for me inside there right now. But it's what you learn. We had Robert Chapman speaking here today. Now, I've heard Robert speaking before. I could listen to Robert speaking next week again, the same story, because I'm going to learn something new. I mean, the business he's built with family eggs is incredible. So it's a fantastic opportunity to get here. You don't have to ask the questions while he's up there. He's round networking. Go up, speak to him, say, Robert, how can I get 32,000 hens? Because it sounds like a good gig. Things like that. Yeah. I'm passionate about what I do, and I've said this, but I was born into farming. All my best memories are on the farm, and for me it's nostalgia. Like, every day I go out and work with sheep, it's nostalgia. It makes me feel like I'm 12 years old again, and everything is perfect, which it certainly isn't in the world, but that is what I'm most passionate about in farming. It just takes me back to the glory days, which, as you can see, are long behind me.